lightning round questions. Alexis, we'll start with you. So as a whole, what do you think brokers should expect today from both LPs, risk systems, and bridge providers as a whole?
I'll touch the bridge side. Now, if I go back 10 years, the expectations of brokers were much less than today. We only had to offer no downtime, not much latency, and be stable. But today, I will touch on 3 areas, right? The one is have a real-time visibility on every layer of the bridge. It could be pricing, it could be your LPs. Having data fast is what can save you. Not only having the data to be able to act. Now, the second point is simple UIs. I don't even know why I'm bringing this to the discussion, but bridges, I've worked in other bridges, they are super complex. You're trying to set up something and you need to go to 7 tabs, 32 rows, and memorize how to set something up. And this is something that we want to change, and this is something that all bridges should actually bring, is smart UIs. Smart, you have a workflow. You should go from 1 to 5, finished. You shouldn't be something hard. And what happens many times is because it's so hard, it's risky for the teams to actually, set it up. And the last point is what I also mentioned on the demo, validations. So your team is making a configuration. If there's something wrong in the flow or in the configuration, something is missing, tag it. And then you mentioned also about AI before, Drew. This is another place where AI will take place, to be able to check your whole configuration, not just that one rule, that if statement there. To be able to analyze your whole configuration, understand, and then flag it, because that's the last point before you save, and it goes to the real life environment. So that would be the 3 things that I would say is a must from bridges to bring to their brokers.
John, what do you think?
I think, well, it's true for everybody in the tech stack providing brokers. I think that brokers are becoming smarter, they're becoming much more sophisticated. And with the new threats of professional abusers becoming more sophisticated, we need to match their needs, which means that we need to provide clean data. So even now, a broker can have 5 different tech providers and not be allowed to access their own data, or all of their own data from those not bridge providers, but all tech suppliers. So you can actually provide, you can spend hundreds of thousands on certain software, and you still can't get your data from that software. You get a parcel package of data, you get some of your data. If you're trying to train your own in-house LLM, you need all of the data you can get. That's one thing. The second thing is the tech providers need to be responsible, and they need to be responsive. So if often what we will see is we will see a pricing feed go down, we will see an alert come up, and 3 seconds ago or 2 seconds ago a price feed stopped. It's a forensic investigation to go through all of the layers to find out where it stopped, because the providers don't even know themselves. They don't know whether it's human error, whether it's market error. And so there need to be stronger SLAs on tech providers, and that drives them to be more responsive. And then finally, I think brokers need to start working a little bit more collaboratively. So we're talking here about toxic flow, but a lot of that toxic cohort is taking advantage of the fact that brokers don't talk to each other, and they don't have any sort of shared wisdom. You'll have maybe 1% to 2% of your traders are just dedicated on your broker trying to get money out of you against your T's and C's. But there's probably another 3 to 4% that are using you against somebody else. And we just need to find a little bit more of a collaborative approach for that.
I think you make a great point. That's something that we haven't had in the industry since it started, right? Something where brokers can actually talk to each other and speak about those kind of issues. Drew, what's your perspective on, again, what should brokers expect today from LPs, risk systems, and bridge providers?
I think that, like in general, brokers need to think that, their existence is at risk. And I think what mostly, like a lot of firms have been in this industry 10 years, 20 years. have a good business, and think, okay, my thing is not at risk, okay? But all the big crypto exchanges are coming for this industry. All the big online equity brokers are coming from this industry. All the people who have loaded with clients, client acquisition costs, not an issue for those people at all, right? Are coming for us, right? And so if we don't do something, there's something that, like, I have this, consulting client of mine who is a private equity firm. They bought Ninja Trader 6 years ago for $100 million. They sold that futures broker to Kraken, okay, for $1.8 billion. And I was thinking, like, that thing is not worth $1.8 billion. But under Kraken, that thing is going to be worth 20 billion, right? Like, within the next 5 to 10 years. They're going to destroy most of the other futures brokers, in that field, right? And I think that that's something that we have to think that is coming for us, right? And so there is this thing where if you look at what do you expect from everyone, sort of LPs in general, like we were talking about, we have to align ourselves. Do we have a solution for good customers? Okay, most brokers don't. Okay, do we have a solution, right? There's different types of ways, right? Where, big customers, small customers, different types of instruments. We have to have solutions that align so we don't have to kick people out, right? That we don't have to, go nuts and have like crazy months where, like the fall of last year where everyone lost money for 4 months straight, until they were saved by one day in January. Right. And I think that that's something, can't run a business like that. Right. Not when, bigger guys are coming to kill it. Right. Who won't have those issues because they will have risk limits and things that won't happen to them. So they won't make as much money on January 30th, but they would have made lots of money, the 4 months prior. Right. And I think they can invest and do things that you can't. And so I think that we have to align ourselves and really think of all of those things, we have to get more sophisticated, we have to invest more, and we have to treat it as if we are going to go out of business because a lot of us might, right? And I think like demand for the industry is growing, and you can see it in the last, 10 years, demand has grown exponentially, and that's been a rising tide lift all boats. So it doesn't mean that other people won't come and see it. It is now big enough to warrant people looking into it that didn't think the wallet size, mattered right before. And I think that that's something that we have to, do. And I can personally tell you from experience of working with a bunch of investment funds, this industry was never looked at before seriously by a lot of people. It is, today, like when I took that thing public and, in 2010, that was an anomaly. People are looking at us like, what? Oh, that is so stupid. What is that little business that is insignificant? Right? But today, the industry is much larger, and a lot of people that wouldn't pay attention before are looking at a completely different world today. There's public companies making lots of money, and that is attracting more interest from people who would now thought are coming into the space. So I think that that's something where we have to get a lot better at what we do. Right? If we keep leaking lots of money all over the place, we keep having the same relationships as we did before, we're not going to be able to fight off, all of those risks. And I think those risks, are coming. Plus, something for people to think about, 50% of all investment portfolio in private equity space was SaaS software in the last 25 years. That is essentially all going to zero. Right? And some of it's replaced by robotics, some of it by AI, but that valuations are crazy. Some of it by defense, right? But the amount of people who have never looked at the financial industry space because it was overregulated, because it was not an attractive space to invest in, because, there was SaaS software was just so much better. Okay? SaaS software is gone as an option. So even people who don't like brokerage, and what I tell you about AI being a risk to our business, AI, if you're in a business of getting paid by trade, is the best thing that could happen to you. So you're a huge beneficiary, right? Because we are going to be as an industry, a huge beneficiary of AI just because of the amount of trading that is coming, right? That is, again, going to attract, investment into the industry by people who are going to take it seriously, that is coming. So I think those are things that if we are not, if we are this good today and that's good enough, we make enough money and everything is fine, we have to get better. Because if we don't get to this level, I think things are going to get very rough, right? And I think that's something where, like you were saying about changes, the changes, because of social media. When I was a CEO of FXTM, I was an asshole, okay? And people didn't like me, right? But because it was my own money and it was stressing and it was the thing, but if you didn't move fast, and I would say asshole, I was a dictator. Once we decided that we're doing something, everybody had to do it. If you didn't do it, you were fired. Today, everybody is super nice. We decided to do something, and then, like you said, employees didn't want to do it, and they slow it down. I don't really want to change this. And I think like, oh, we don't have to do that. That's why selling software to people is so difficult, right? People, because nobody wants to be an asshole today because they're on social media, right? But that is a disservice to people, I think. And it's a thing that your boss may not be mean to you, but he will fire you because competition is going to put you out of business, right? And I think that making sure that we, go to a higher competitive level is very important. Now I do consulting, so I'm the nicest person. But before, when it was my money on the line, I was not the nicest person. And it is still. Make lots of mistakes and those are the things, but if you don't, someone's going to come and put you out of business, right? And I think that there's been such a bull market in this industry that we have not felt it, okay? But I think if you look at the rapid change, there's people in the software business that could have told you, they had a $10 billion business that didn't seem like it was going to go anywhere. AI came and it is gone. Gone. It will never go public, ever. Okay? It will be zero 3 years from now, 5 years from now, at some point, right? And, that's something like, those forces are coming here, right? Some brokers will do amazing because of it and some will just die, right? And I think if we don't change, we die. That's how I see it.
But I think there's a lot of room for opportunity here, right, Drew?
No, like everything else, think of SpaceX. SpaceX is the ultimate example. We've never had an IPO, right? That essentially today is trading at the company that just started trading at $2 trillion, right? Never happened before, right? And we have a few $1 trillion IPOs happening. Like that has never happened in the world today. And even prior to that, the valuations reached levels, right, in the stock market that were insane, right?
They've just bought Cursor AI whilst we're here for 60 billion.
Yeah, like stuff like that would never happen. That would be like front page news for 3 months, right? If that was the case, right? And today is a normal transaction, right? And I think it's something where the amount of opportunities are huge. The people who are going to win on a scale that has not been seen before. Billions and billions of dollars. But that also means that the amount of losers is large, right? Like very large, right? And I think we have existed in a world where it's been good enough to be medium sized. It's been good enough to have a niche. It's been good enough to be good enough, right? And I think that world is going to come to an end. And I think that's something where, partly that is the opportunity because, opportunity is coming here, but that is the risk, right? And I think that investing more is important we have to get sharper ahead. And just because your boss is not screaming at you because he doesn't want complaints on Instagram or whatever the hell his problem is, okay, that is not a good sign, and it is something that we have to, we have to take kind of the ownership of it, right? And say, no, change is coming. So if we don't, all the places we're leaking money now, you're at a 0 to it seems a lot more. What if it was 2 zeros, right? And, this is something, can you sustain the operation? Because those things, those things are coming. And I think that people who can take advantage of those things are going to make lots of money. As an example, there are lots of people taking advantage of brokers, right? Of two different brokers. But if you run your book in a different way, why do you care if someone is trading one way here and one way there? If you're a pure B book, that is a huge problem. Okay? But if you segment and you analyze, you say, oh, these people are trying to take advantage of me in one way, there is a way to make money from these people, right? It's just not the traditional way. And we have to segment them into a different thing. There's a different hedging program for them. There's something completely different, but there are ways. You throw out thousands of people out of your company, the company is going to tank rating-wise. The thing, and like if you look at, the prop industry is probably the best business model of client acquisition. Client acquisition at rates far, far lower than our business has come from absolutely nowhere to have 10 times the amount of clients we do as a business, right? From nothing. Zero trust, zero regulation, just Trustpilot score, right? But that is the model that, we are constantly ruining by being too picky and by doing all that. If you look at an industry that lives and dies, on this kind of reputation because it doesn't have anything else, right? It is a really good tell, right? Between the people who are surviving and thriving in that industry, which is a very small amount of people, and the majority of people in that industry, which are absolutely dying mathematically every day, go with an unsustainable business model, right? And I think that's sort of what is coming for us, right? And I think that's something that's really, really important that we sort of take it up, a notch. And I think all your relationships, you have to say, like, is it good enough? Do we need better? And, like I said, how we'll plug those holes, right? And from an LP perspective, a lot of that is aligning to say, hey, I have a funnel for client type A, client type B, client type C, and I'm going to have different LP relationships with different arrangements, for each one of those funnels, right? And we're going to set that up ahead of time. And, the volumes in each funnel go up and down, but we're going to have that set up and transparent, and I think that that's something that is extremely important in everything that we do, right? Just because we have to be prepared, for all of those things, and you have to change. We have to change as times change, customers get more sophisticated. We're going to have to change. I think the pace of that change is going to increase.
Mm-hmm. It's going to have to increase because, like you said, in order for us to continue not surviving, but let's say thriving in this new environment, we're going to have to do a lot of different things. We're going to have to do a lot of things on the risk management side to stop let's say, the leaking of the toxic leaks. We have to upgrade and modernize infrastructure. And I think last part to your point, strategic acquisitions. You mentioned Kraken. They're also buying up firms that are providing signals, trading signals, and things like that. And it seems to me it's kind of like going back to 2008, 2010, 2012 strategic acquisitions. Basically, if you can acquire it and become stronger, why not do it now? So it prepares you for the future.
People, I think, need to look at, okay, here's the two compares I fear the most. What if they were owned by Binance tomorrow? What if they're owned by Kraken tomorrow? What if they're owned by Robinhood tomorrow, right? What would I do, right? Those people are going to hoover up so many clients, right? Because those people have zero client acquisition costs because they already have 100 million clients, right? And I think that's something where we, need to look at that. That's like a big, because that is coming. If people don't think so, I can tell you that is something for sure. Next few years, that is going to be normal.
Mm-hmm. Great.